I would like to welcome to the show Sunshine Cereceda. Am I saying your name right? Cereceda?
That's correct. Yeah.
Wonderful,
Mhm.
wonderful. How are you doing today? It looks like a very nice day out in Humboldt County. And I just want to get the show started by getting to know who you are and like what are your origins? Like what's your origin story? Where did you get started on your cannabis journey?
Yeah. Well, it all started with my mother, really. And I just, I grew up in a community of growers in Southern Humboldt. We were all a bunch of wild kids out there in the hills. Our parents were growing weed. They built us a school funded by our weed, educated us, and it was an amazing experience. I was also raised by artists and activists, and we used a lot of what are growing and whatnot to support environmental activism and indigenous rights and human rights.
I believe I read that you used to try to protect the redwood trees out there in California. Um,
Yeah.
and you were part of a watershed group. I believe that's what it was called, watershed something. So if I'm sorry.
Yeah. My mom was a part of that. We had the timber wars that happened in the late 80s and early 90s. And that was when a big, massive corporation came in and bought up our locally owned redwood company and just started cutting like just obscene. It was madness. And so the environmentalists rallied for that. And I was out there watering my mom's plants while she was on the front lines. And it's because of her efforts and the efforts of others that some of those trees are now protected in a preserve. And she also helped create her efforts as well in protecting old growth trees resulted in the Sinkyone Wilderness in northern Mendocino.
Okay. So how long have you been in Humboldt County?
I moved up here in 1980.
Wow.
Yeah, in the back of a Volkswagen van, listening to Peter Tosh and rolled into my first view of the redwoods, and that was it. I was taken by it.
So did you continue and get started like on your career with cannabis from your parents' farm, or did you start your own farm? Like what was that transition into the cannabis industry before you even started the brand Sunbolt?
Yeah, that was Petrolia High School. So I was about 14. It was time for me to go to high school. And, being educated in the alternative school system, I wasn't really that hyped to like go into public school. And they had this like kind of like, well, it was a boarding school out in Petrolia. And it was a back to the land kind of theme, learning some how to take care of the land skills. It's just exact fit me perfect. But there was tuition. So my mom took me out to the orchard and said, okay, you get to grow your plant here under the plum tree and these bushes here. And this is what's going to pay for your tuition to Petrolia High School.
Wow. Wow. So what grew your love for cannabis though? Like you've been in nature, you've been dealing with a lot of plants and activism for like the redwood trees and everything, but why cannabis? Why specifically cannabis?
Well, at first it started off as just the adventure. I mean, back in the day, this was like running from helicopters and then growing a little bit of herb and going out in the world and maybe taking a vacation and traveling international or something like that, or just, yeah. And so it started off as an adventure. And then when Prop 215 passed, that was for medical in California. Then I started that and The Emperor Wears No Clothes, this book that was
Oh yeah,
written
by
back.
Jack Herrera.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
So that really started to make me kind of look at things a little differently. And I started looking around me and looking around everyone who's smoking. And I was like, wow, we're all medicating right now. And and then from there, I I took a few moments to not a few moments, but I took some time to look at how just money and capitalism was really limiting my perspective of everything this plant has to offer.
Right,
And
right.
so once I like removed that from the picture, I just started seeing endless possibilities. I just was like taking my buds and running them through a juicer and drinking it, and just really started exploring all the different uses.
Okay, so taking me back to the medical cannabis industry that you were in, what were some of the woes and what were some of the peaks that you dealt with? Like, because I understand that it kind of like it was bad when it first got started. It was really hard to deal with when it first got started. So, give me like I guess a rundown on what you went through when you were in that industry.
It was actually the opposite. So when medical passed, we had what I would call weed refugees who showed up to Humboldt County, and we were too scared to really put our plants in the sun. We were traumatized from the war on drugs, from the mid 80s and into the late 80s. Like that period of time was really bad. Like we were shoving our plants in the shade and growing these 2 ounce seed plants. Like it was really difficult, the hardest time to grow. And
Wow.
so when medical came, we were just too scared to put our plants out in the sun. And then people started showing up and growing these huge plants in the sun. And we did the days before camp, and we did remember when we had our plants out there, but we were just, yeah, we were a little scared. So it took us a few years, and then we finally started putting our plants out there in the sun. And as medical progressed, it, as far as I'm concerned, people became quite comfortable and complacent, and they really didn't know what it was like to fight for this. They really didn't know what it was like to really lose, to really, yeah, just not really so sure how much you should love something that could be so taken away from you any day.
Right, right. So, did you start off at was it a were you a caregiver? Is that what your position was, or were you just like what was the I guess what were the procedures that they gave you in medical cannabis? Because I've only heard of like caregivers and I guess if you ran your own, I guess vertically integrated or I don't know what was the system like back then? What was your position as a medical cannabis I guess or a caregiver or what was the position you were in?
I was growing for my own medical use, and I did have a few people that I did take care of. But what's interesting is that I find myself being more in demand now as a caregiver than I was then.
Okay, cool. So I know you left the medical cannabis industry pretty much. And what was your transition into building Sunbow? Because I know you champion people having to build their brand if they want to stay relevant as farmers and everything. So what situation did you go through that let you realize how important the branding was for your company?
Well, I didn't have farmland, and so I had a choice. I mean, yeah, I didn't have a farmland to get permitted. I knew I was going to have to lease, and I knew that I could build value in a brand. And most importantly, I could do whatever, like I could I could find a lot of freedom in who I am and what I want to do with a brand to just express myself as a craft cultivator. And so I made a choice to have a brand and go into the regulated market.
Okay, so how has that expanded your I guess your reach as a farmer so far? Like has business boomed since then? Has it been pretty stabilized? Are you looking forward to more? Or like what's going on?
It's a it's a train wreck, honestly. I mean, we're in the most regulated state, in the most regulated industry in the entire world, and it's a joke. It really is. So it's like I might as well just have an ankle bracelet on and be on probation for the rest of my life. Like that's what it feels like. And then the lack of capital, I'm in a straight coat. So it's really challenging. And you just can't trust people in this commercial world. You'd think, oh yeah, it's legal now, it's all transparent. Oh no, don't trust anybody. And even friends that I used to like do business with in the past, like you could trust people in what I call the self-regulated market. And it was it was, so I was just really cautious about how I went about my business. And um it's just treacherous, to say the least.
So what keeps you inspired? Like all I hear is like a lot of things are just it like this cannabis industry is going through a lot right now. So what specifically keeps you inspired?
Well, I'm very passionate about working with the plant, of course. I I have a genetics program. I make my own crosses. I really, really enjoy that. I also very much enjoy product development. Like you grow something in the earth and then you harvest it and then you turn it into something. And it's really exciting and fun. And I like to be able to just give people new experiences they haven't had and to just create really the best experience that someone could have.
So what are some of your favorite strains that you have grown or come across during your journey that like have really, I guess, stained your brains? It's been something that you just remembered like you throughout your whole career. Like and it could be something from your past or it could be something that you've grown or just something that's really made you happy.
Yeah, yeah. There's definitely been a few that have stuck with me. The Mazzari, when I was a kid, I still remember that like hanging in my bedroom. And I'm sure it's crossed into a lot of things now and it's somewhere in there, but I remember that one. And well, there's some of the I mean, obviously some of those OGs, very, very good. And it's hard to get a really good diesel now too. Just like, yeah.
Wow. Okay. You have like those real strains. So is there, and this is kind of like going back on subject, you've been a farmer for many years. Is there anybody or any way that you plan on passing your lessons down, your training down to anybody else? Is like, is there a what's the word I'm looking for? Is there somebody that you're training, or is there somebody that you know is going to keep your legacy going?
Yeah, yeah. I'm definitely open to having an apprentice. And I did have one, Elijah Rosenbaum, and he's in Kentucky now working on medical efforts and legalization there. And just through my company, of course, and like having grown up in a community of growers, the sharing of information is how we survived throughout all those years of hiding. And it's also the sharing of information that creates a really good product coming out of a region. And you can find that in Humboldt, like you can't anywhere else in the nation. Like I live here, I can be critical of everyone's weed all day, but once it's out of the county, there's a consistency that I just don't think you're going to find anywhere else.
Okay. As a lover of the plant, though, and this is just about business. As a lover of the plant, how has it been trying to find the right dispensaries or places that sell your product? How's it been the selection process? How has that been for you to know that you're giving your brand the proper representation?
Exactly. This is key and crucial. This is really an important, this is of utmost importance. So when you're a craft farmer, craft is not going to sell itself. You have to have someone there to represent it and tell the story. And it doesn't matter how good your weed is, how beautiful your farm is, you have to have representation. And so, and to top it off, you also need paying accounts because you're starting out and you can't really afford to be not paid or strung along. And it's just a lot of issues come from that. So there's really not that many dispensaries that can represent me the way that I need to be represented. It is very selective. And so I look for location is crucial in terms of like finding my demographic. So a perfect example of my demographic and a location is High Fidelity in Berkeley. It's just down the street from a university. Perfect. Just like that's a great spot for me to be. And then Cornerstone down in Los Angeles is just an oasis for craft, sun grown, just quality, good herb for your head.
Wow. Okay. So I recently hear a lot of conversation about Prop 215 and how they were basically saying how it was better back then than it is now, and a lot of people are really not wanting federal to happen, and they want to just be able to regulate their own economy, their own market in the cannabis industry, which makes plenty of sense. What are some things that you feel like would benefit craft farmers and people who are really out there farming and in the art agriculture? What things do you think that they can, what rules or what regulations do you think they can add that would actually help you guys and benefit you guys?
The number one thing that will benefit us, because I believe it will come one day, is direct sales. Without direct sales, it's really challenging because everyone's taken a cut as it moves down the line, and it gets really challenging for you. And the representation part is challenging, and just being able to like curate your own customer base. And also for medical people in particular, if they find a strain that works, right? Like say you're the only one with the strain, and this is kind of true in my case. You got the strain, someone likes it, they can't find it anywhere else. They're just trying to feel good for 4 hours during the day to get something done. And so actually access may not be as good as it used to be back in the day. And so direct sales for medical is crucial.
Wow. Wow, 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 wow. Let me ask you this question. This is random. If you weren't in Humboldt County, is there anybody, I mean, it's not anybody, is there anywhere else that you've traveled where you feel like you would be able to plant your farm and live and thrive the way you do now?
In like another community of growers?
It could be in another part of California, it could be in another state, another country, just anywhere where you think you would have the same availability to the plant.
I'd like to go to Colombia. I'd like to go to Spain. Those are a couple. I mean, of course, I'd like to go to the motherland and Pakistan and Afghanistan and parts of India and like really see what it's like there.
Okay, wow. Have you traveled to any of those countries before?
Not, I haven't. I came close to Colombia, but I haven't really traveled there yet. I haven't been to the Middle East yet, and I haven't gone to Spain. So yeah, it's
Wow. So is there anything else that you like? I know you grow, but what other processes of the cannabis plant do you participate in? Do you make hash? Are you a like you get what I'm saying? What else? Is there anything else that you participate in? Or are you just strictly a cultivator of the plant?
oh no, I'm always crafting. I am
Oh, okay.
always thinking of something to make do, and so I'm starting to learn more about hash. I'm moving into hash infused pre-rolls and how to really craft these to really capture how to like how to really capture the fresh terps but also have a smooth smoke at the same time. And I'm also recently started making essential oils, which are really fun to work with. I've been adding a little bit of that to my pre-rolls as well. And having just judged the pre-rolls for the Emerald Cup and trying a lot of flavored pre-rolls, I really like how these essential oils blend in with the flavor of the bud. Overall, it's really nice. A lot of the flavored pre-rolls can be like, they just overwhelm the palate. They overwhelm the flower. They're somewhat simplistic. You think you're tasting a lot, but really it lacks complexity. So yeah, I'm
Okay.
really happy with
You
oils.
you mentioned the Emerald Cup. I don't remember if I saw that you've won anything. Have you won anything in the Emerald Cup or um? Oh, my son walked in. I'll tell you, go with mommy. Go with mommy real quick. Go with mommy, baby. Actually, come here. Come say hi. Come here.
Yeah, I'm gonna say hi.
Say hi. Say hi.
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 All right, baby. Go with mommy. Okay, close my door. Close the door, baby. Okay. I'm sorry about that.
No, there's nothing to be sorry about.
Um, I forgot what I was saying.
Oh, you're at the Emerald. Yeah, I
Yes.
haven't. Yeah, I haven't won, but you never know. After judging all those pre-rolls, I might be ready to compete for next
Oh, so
week.
you haven't competed yet?
No, I did enter some flower a couple of times, but yeah, I haven't really done much with the competition in that way.
Okay, so for the people that don't know how the judging process goes with the Emerald Cup, what is the process they put you through? Do they invite you, or do you submit a form or something? Like what's the process?
Yeah, you do apply for it.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, cool. Okay.
And then and
Okay.
so at least yeah, for the pre-rolls, they had us in like we did a weekly Zoom meeting, and then we tried things and talk about it, and it's an amazing experience just to be able to get everyone's unique perspective on what they smoked and what they tried. It's really good.
So is there anybody in the industry right now that inspires you? Any companies that you feel like are doing it right, and that you kind of like run a business plan after, or could, or are basically who you're inspired by? Is there anybody else?
Yeah, I was just recently over at my hash maker buddy Baron at Nasha. Just amazing what he's
Uh,
done. Really amazing with this, with just making great quality hash at like a really good value, and he's really good with the farmers, and so yeah, it's just awesome.
and just a more recent question: what are you growing right now?
Well, right now I got loopy fruit, Delfina, Wanderlust, and Redwood Summer, and then I got a little bit going on in my R&D too.
Oh wow. Okay. So, oh, and this is kind of like a final question. What is the process for a grower? Is it a seasonal thing, kind of like what they do in fashion, where they come out with collections of clothing and garments for a collection like cruise, summer, spring? Is there a specific way they have you all enter the industry with a collection of products, or do you kind of like regulate it yourself and just put out your own products, whatever you have grown?
Yeah, yeah, you do make your own portfolio, so to speak, or your own, yeah, for sure.
Okay, cool. Well, I appreciate your time today, Miss Sunshine. Um, I can't even ask anymore because you filled me up with plenty of answers, plenty of knowledge, and I would love to be able to work with you in the future in some type of way, even if it's just like facts from Sunshine, how to grow or something, just something to add more content. That would be nice.
Yeah, I'd love to share growing tips, growing information, indoor, outdoor, whatever. I mean, I don't have as much experience indoor, but I do know my way around the plant, and just how to dry and cure it's also important too.
And one day, if you would allow me, I would definitely love to come tour your facility. I would love to.
Of course.
Absolutely. Well, I appreciate your time today. You take care. You have a wonderful day.
Thank you.
Thank you.